Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining me here in this space. So today I'm sharing with you a class that is themed around the word evolve. And to evolve means to adapt and to be fluid with change. So moving today as if you were a body of water. So being fluid with change and adaptable at all times. Ideally, we're working to move from our middle, be soft, be breathable, feel easy. And in many ways, trying to view the hard stuff that we face as if they were easy challenges. And changing our mindset and thought process a little bit, just to explore the response physically and mentally. So we're going to start this off lying down supine in Shavasana here. Now, I wanted to guide you initially through a quick practice that I call the wave breath. And this is a really wonderful way to not only generate awareness of the breath, but to stimulate this sense of control and igniting of energy from a really relaxed and passive place. So what you're going to do here is just simply place one hand lightly over your belly and the other gently across your chest. So just a nice, light, restful touch. And initially here, you're just going to breathe normally, simply observing the natural movement that your breath creates in these areas, and exploring where you're actually finding that movement existing within your body. And then in a moment, we're going to start to influence the breath a little more. I'm creating a nice wave of breath. So there shouldn't feel like there's any tension here or tightness. And if you do feel that at any time, you can of course just simply cease the practice. You don't want to feel like you're forcing this in any way. But the idea now that is when you next start to breathe in, that you're going to start to feel movement pressing upward with the hand that is on your chest. So we're going to fill the chest cavity first, allowing that wave to grow and just seamlessly let that flow then into the hand that is placed over your belly. So the breath starts at the chest and then just seamlessly flows like a wave crashing over into the belly. And then what we're going to do here on the release is reverse that action. So we're going to allow the breath to ease down from the belly first and then seamlessly flow down into the chest and let go from that region as well. And that's going to continue to flow now. So we inhale from the chest and seamlessly, without a pause, without a rush, into the belly. And then seamlessly again exhaling from the belly and allowing that to flow right the way through to the chest. So that beautiful wave arriving with the inhalation and the beautiful wave crashing and releasing upon exhalation. And just let that flow for the next few rounds of breathing here. Explore how that feels. It might feel a little weird initially. Getting used to the rhythm, getting used to that movement, particularly if you don't naturally find a lot of movement in these areas, or if you are someone who habitually breathes quite sharply or with a sniffing of the breath. Beautiful. And then after your next wave breath out, you're just going to breathe in and out into both hands. So as if these areas are going to fill at the same time. A really good visualization with this is to imagine two balloons, so one in the belly and one in the chest. On inhalation, imagine those balloons expanding, filling, opening, creating wonderful space. And then as you exhale, both balloons releasing, contracting and squeezing the air out. So just let that now flow for the next few rounds of breath. And exploring not only the feeling, but the possibility of the space that you're creating here. Wonderful. And then after your next full breath out, Just simply relax the hands down beside you. Come back to your natural rhythm of breath without influence, without having to change anything at all. And just notice the effects of that short practice upon you and how you feel. Going to ever so gently now bend your knees up towards your chest, hug them in nice and close, and just work to circle your knees around, massaging into your back, massaging into your spine, softening into the belly. And from here on, just allowing the breath to flow in that natural rhythm. Beautiful. One more lovely knee circle, knee hug. And now as you arrive back into center, I'm going to keep the knees where they are, but open the arms up nice and wide along the floor, either side of your chest. The palms rotated upward towards the ceiling here. You're going to gaze over at your right hand as you allow the knees to travel across towards the left. And as the knees come over into this supine twist, you can allow the tips of your toes to touch down to the floor. That's just going to take some of the weight and pressure out of the twist itself. And it will create a nice space for you to come back to the breath and tune into how you're feeling. If all is good here and you want to take it a little bit further, your top leg, which is your right leg, can extend away. So it might reach away as a straight leg. And if this level of pressure feels okay in the twist and you're not lifting up currently through the right shoulder, your left leg can also reach away with the right. Flexing through the feet, so both legs are quite active here. But if at any point you feel any strain in your neck or in your right shoulder, you would just bend the knees or allow the toes to touch down to the floor. So always working in those stages so that you remain in control. So wherever you are in this, we'll just bend the knees back together and roll back through center. So your knees and your head are now back to that center position. Going to look over now at your left hand as you guide your knees over towards the right side. We're in no rush here, so just starting off with the tips of the toes in contact with the floor. Breathe with that. Get familiar with the twist. Get familiar with the stretch that you're creating in your body. And then have a little play. So you might now stretch out your left leg, which is your top leg, increasing the pressure a little more. If that feels good, if that feels easy within your body, allow the right leg to join that extension, flexing through both feet. So again, your legs are active here, breathing away, mindful the whole time. And then bending into both knees as you roll your way back into center point. Lovely. So from here, your feet can touch down to the floor. You can choose a side that you'd like to roll over onto. And from there, just coming into your tabletop position. I'm going to guide you into a bit more of explorative movement here. And I like to call this free movement. Going to be circling the body around here. So going to be guiding, particularly from the hips. I find the hips to be a really beneficial place to start here. And then the rest of the body can kind of flow into this nice and easy. So you're going to just start to gently create a nice easy circle with your hips. So going forward, across, backward and around, as if you were drawing a circle with your hips. The size of this circle is entirely up to you and the comfort within your body. The breath here just flowing with you. And then if it feels right to do so in your body, you might get the shoulders moving a little bit more so they start to groove around with that circle. Maybe the back and spine starts to arch or concave here, getting a bit more of a stretch out. And then we can reverse the direction and work this free movement, lovely warming, limbering movement in the opposite way, balancing out further here. And then after this next full way round, we're going to find the body entering into Madhurasana. So we're going to start to lift now through your chin and tailbone. Nice beautiful stretch through the front of the torso, hollowing into your back. And then releasing gracefully over now. So rounding into the back and spine, rolling your chin into the chest, tailbone tucks under, navel draws upward. We'll do this 2 more times through. So lifting now through your chin and your tailbone, hollowing spine. Wonderful stretch through the front body. And then easing over, rounding into the back as deeply as you can with comfort. And the chin tucks into the chest, stretching into the back of the neck, tailbone tucking under as if it were to meet the chin. And then working through one more full round here in your own timing. And the breath just flowing as it would like to. Beautiful. Now after that last round, going to simply drop down now to your forearms, having the palms facing down to the floor, spreading out through the fingers and firming down through the pads of the fingers here. So coming into a nice forearm stand. So as you bring weight into the forearms, you're going to tuck the toes under to the floor and lift your knees like you would your downward dog position. It will feel a little more strong in the shoulders because you're not on your hands, you're using your forearms here as your base, but working the principle in the same way. So we're going to be drawing away from the earth, firming down through forearms and sending that energy up into the hips and guiding that energy down both legs towards your heels. You might like to cycle the legs a little bit here. You might have a little more movement happening through the hips, just working in the way that feels right for you. Wonderful. After your next breath out, we're going to take a moment to pause and rest here. So bending the knees down to the floor, let them slide out wide to mat distance. Flatten the tops of the feet. Allow the big toes to connect here. Mandukasana, your frog pose. Beautiful. And when you're ready to, we're going to slide into this one more time through. So firming into your forearms, rising up with your knees, entering into that beautiful stretch out of your legs, similar to your downward dog position. Either holding this statically and allowing the breath to flow, or allow that movement to continue to flow within your whole body. This is your practice and working in the way that makes you feel fluid. Wonderful. And then slow and gentle as the knees come back down, we'll enter one more time into our Mandukasana. Sinking nice and low. And after a few breaths in and out here, softening into the body, just going to gradually now walk the hands back in towards you. And as your neck and head lift up from this stretch, going to tilt some weight into the hands so that you can tuck the toes under to the floor. Separate your feet nice and easy apart, so a little wider than your hips. And we're going to ease back now into our Malasana, so our squat position. Now knees are going to travel off the floor here if possible. It's not necessary for the heels to touch down to the floor if that's a bit too deep of a stretch, particularly for that Achilles region, at the heels and ankles. But if you do have the heels down, just being mindful not to be forcing into that. Absolutely fine to be balancing into the balls of the feet and adding again a little more movement in. And then if comfortable, just zoning on one spot out in front with your eye gaze. We're going to test balance a little here. Hands might come together in line with your chest, lifting the hands a little away from your thighs and knees and lengthening up further through the spine. So just bringing a little more physical stillness within the body, particularly with the shifting of weight from left to right side, and using your breath to not only maintain that level of focus and concentration, but to keep you calm and steady. Wonderful. After your next breath out, we're going to tilt forward with the hands. Work on straightening your legs as much as you can. We'll keep the feet roughly again that hip distance apart. And we're transitioning here into our Uttanasana, our deep standing forward fold. So if you have a little bend into the knees, that's absolutely fine, particularly if there's some tightness in the backs of your legs. Just gradually now with every breath, allowing the spine and the head to release deeper and deeper towards the floor. Gravity, really your friend here, drawing you down gently. You can add a little more weight to this if you wish to by crossing the arms over and holding onto your elbows and just guiding the elbows towards your big toes, just moving in that direction. You don't have to pulse the body here. You're not forcing yourself down. Just really enjoy that gradual release as every moment passes here, respecting and honoring your body. Wonderful. So from your Uttanasana stretch, you're going to place the hands again down to the floor, bend quite deeply into both knees and stepping back now on your right foot, keeping the heel lifted here. We're going to sink the right knee down to the ground and entering into Anjaneyasana lunge, so a nice low lunge position here. Having a go at taking the hands off the floor, you might raise the arms up and add a little sway back. And then as you release from your sway back, we'll bring the hands back together in line with the center of the chest. Eye gaze nice and firmly forward and the breath with you. So going to have a go now at firming into both feet and rising into our runner's lunge. So lifting the back knee off the floor. As you rise into runner's lunge, just take a moment to firm not only into your legs but into your core region. So starting to generate that core fire, building up the power within your body. From your beautiful runner's lunge position, we're going to come up into high lunge. So arms are going to raise upward towards the ceiling. So just increasing that sense of fire within the body now, generating more heat, more warmth, more power, more energy. Now that wonderful length that you currently have up through both arms, going to start to tilt that forward, more out in front. So coming past your front thigh. Beautiful long line of energy. And if you're able to, just see if you can lift your right leg now up off the floor. So gradually transitioning into our warrior 3, Virabhadrasana 3. If this is a little bit too much, just keeping that back foot in contact with the floor. So you can come back at any stage. From your variation of warrior 3, we're going to either sweep or step the right foot in. A little bit of space between both feet, bend into the right knee, so now both knees are bent, hands coming in line with your chest and sinking down into our Utkatasana chair pose from here. If comfortable, you can allow both arms again to reach forward in that diagonal line, increasing the fire once more. Wonderful, and then slowly bring your hands back in line with your chest, straightening out of your chair. Take a moment to breathe in and out, release any tension. And now rezoning that sense of focus and concentration, we're going to balance the body weight into our left leg and just slide here the right foot upon your calf muscle, turning at your knee and having a go at balancing into our Vrksasana tree pose. Now, if you're able to and the body feels steady and focused, you can, of course, have a play around with your foot placement. You might be sliding your foot up to the inner upper thigh and having the option to raise up the arms if you wish to. If you feel a little unsteady, you might be placing the toes to the floor and just having the heel resting upon your ankle or your calf here. And, of course, if you need a wall to keep you steady, just having one hand to a wall. Work with what you need. And then when you're ready to, after a few breaths in our Vrksasana tree, coming back into center. Going to very slowly from here, work into your Uttanasana. Again, coming down to the floor. So your hands are just reaching down towards the floor here, just as you did previously, and stretching out into both legs. So from your Uttanasana, you're going to take now a step back on the left foot. So nice deep step back with the heel lifted, lowering down through the left knee. So entering into the Anjaneyasana low lunge again. Arms coming off the floor and reaching up nice and high into a little sway back. And then from here, as you release from the sway back, bringing both hands in line with the center of the chest. So fixing your eye gaze forward here. I'm going to have a go at rising up into your runner's lunge position from this point. And then slowly from here, extending both arms upward. So increasing that fire and again, increasing that length. Breathing steady. Going to guide that length forward now into your version of Warrior 3. So again, you might be lifting through the back leg. So left leg might be reaching back behind you. Or you might be allowing the foot to stay in contact with the floor. So it's entirely up to you. Breathing steady. Finding that strength and power within your body. And then from wherever you are in your Warrior 3, you might be stepping your foot up to the front or simply sliding that leg in. Going to descend now through both knees and guide the tailbone down. Hands starting off in line with the chest as you come into your version of your chair pose, Utkatasana. And then if you're able to, extending forward and upward through both arms. Relaxing through the jaw and holding steady. Beautiful. So coming out nice and slowly from here, and then working now your tree to the other side. So taking your time to find where you would like to place your foot. So again, it might be to your calf muscle or a little higher to the inner upper thigh. Toes might be coming down to the floor. You might be also using the wall space just to support you if you are feeling a little unsteady. Zoning in with the eyes, blinking, breathing, nice and calm with your focus. So again, reminding you to work the mindset of viewing things that might be a little challenging and hard as if they were easy. So just switching that approach a little bit. And after your next breath out, just simply coming back into center. Beautiful, finding that Tadasana, that mountain, that steadiness and grounding. Going to now take a step back on your right foot and open out now to the right side. And from here, coming into your wide-legged forward fold. So going to pivot the feet nice and wide apart. Turn the big toes slightly inward and then hinging from your hips as you come forward and down. Releasing the hands down towards the floor. Just getting a nice wide, beautiful stretch out through the legs, and again allowing gravity to do its job in helping you to release from the spine. Eyes might close here, and you might have your hands to the floor out in front or holding onto your legs, or if you're coming into this quite deeply, simply feeding the arms through the space between your legs. A nice semi-inversion here, so increasing that circulation to your heart and to your brain. Getting a nice flush of that blood supply. And then ever so gently coming back into center. So from here, just simply now bending through your knees to find your way down to Vajrasana, your kneeling position comfortably. Going to place now one hand lightly over your chest, one lightly over the belly, and entering into our beautiful wave breath, but now in a seated position. So we're going to explore the difference here after all that physical work and those physical challenges. So again, when you're ready to, we're going to allow the breath to enter into the chest firstly, pressing forward into that hand, and then seamlessly allowing the breath to flow into the hand within your belly. And then upon exhalation, we're going to release from the belly first, and then seamlessly let that flow into the chest. Squeezing the air out of the lungs. Inhaling as the chest rises and then fluidly the belly. And then exhaling from the belly and into the chest. Working that a few more times through. Nice and seamless. Beautiful, and then just simply allow your hands to relax down into your lap. Feel free to pause the video at this stage if you would like to continue on into that more quiet, meditative space. But otherwise, if you are bringing your practice to a close, feel free to share with me in placing your thumbs to your chest and your fingers outward to the world around you, and joining me in saying Namaste. Namaste, and thank you so much for joining me here in this space.